Hello, everyone. Welcome to the RST Endurance Series, running with 2-hour races here at Donington today. Two drivers per team, but yeah, I'm Josh, and with me is Racer Soul. How you doing, Racer?
Hello. Yeah, I'm doing fine today. I'm excited to see what the drivers come up with this evening. Myself being usually one of the drivers, but some commitments and some things that happen I cannot drive this evening. But my teammate will drive, so I hope he can get some good points for the team.
Yeah, definitely no favoritism, will there? But yeah, tonight, as I mentioned, we're at Donington. Luckily, for us at least, Nürburgring 24 hours, they've been red flagged for the next 2 hours at least. So for those who want to still get their fix, haven't had enough of that Nürburgring, well, we're here at Donington. So yeah, we got really lucky with that, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely, if you're watching the Nordschleife race and don't know what to do with the time, then I think this is a great filler for the next few hours.
100%.
And with the grid we have today, I don't think there are going to be any short of excitement.
No, definitely not. We had some incredibly quick times posted in qualifying during the week. But yeah, some brilliant stuff from those guys who actually went out there and did their their qualifying. We had Jake Moore back on pole as usual in the Mercedes, Olivier Curtin in the Lamborghini, and Kai Banks in the Mercedes. Those guys round off the top three. So amazing stuff from those chaps, getting it up there. But yeah, where's your teammate currently starting for this evening?
That should be the number 12 Lexus of Martin Schaefer. I have no idea where he's starting because I even don't do the qualifying usually. Just because I'm the slower person of the team. But also, like, the time constraints do not allow me so much to do the qualifying, but we are usually in the whereabouts of the top 10-ish.
Yeah, you guys do pretty good in the past.
And he managed to put the car in P17.
Yeah, you can't complain about that, can you? It's
Someone's gonna get fired if that doesn't improve. But then you got the classic Jake Moore, Oli Kirton, Do Medley. Yeah, the classic suspects at the front.
Yeah, it's the typical guys up front, as always. Yeah, as you can see, it's Jake Moore, Olivier Curtin, Godzilla. Those guys are in the top three, but we've got Emo Plate and Door. Those guys are in P4. Madley in P5, Phil Varley in P6. Orlando Tahira and Rafael Malhove managed to get their car into P7. Badowski sits in P8. Topinka and Peter Peck are in P9. And Tyrion NV Ferrari is in P10. So those guys they're properly up there. And yeah, it should be a good race today.
We saw this kind of grid also last week, and there were quite a few accidents, if I remember. Just spectating, watching my teammate go by, the lead drivers have, how to say, they've struggled a bit to keep it clean between each other.
And yeah, definitely. But that is Imola. Imola's quite a tough track to kind of race on, whereas Donington, there's plenty of opportunities for passing. It's not one of those one-line corners, except for the chicane in the last sector.
I don't know. I would actually feel like it could be harder even at Donington because it's a bit more narrow compared to Imola.
Fair enough. I guess we'll find out during the race.
They can only surprise me at this point. I wonder if Kirtan will finally be able to move away from his grid slot, because I think at past two races we saw the Lamborghini not move for like 10 seconds after the warm-up corners started.
Yeah, and also with Olivier Curtin, he seems to kind of struggle apart from round one where he got P2. He's kind of finished just outside podium position, so hopefully today's his day with him and Christopher Tavarian in that Lamborghini. But I guess we'll find out and see, as that's now heading down towards the to the start line. My head's absolutely fried. But yeah, that's them heading down. We'll be underway any second now. And that's them, that's lights out as we see them get well underway towards T1. Can see amazing jump from Hax, it looks like, in that Mercedes, but he backs out, knowing the contract can occur. Kai Banks getting squeezed on the inside, the Lexus going wide. Managing to just keep it on track with the Ferrari again on the right-hand side. Getting squeezed as well, very tight through here. Somehow they managed to keep it clean. On this, Kai Banks going off on the Mercedes, clips a Lexus as well. Luckily, the Lexus stays on, but that looks like the yellow and black Ferrari being clipped out as well. Lots of carnage behind. We see a little bit of a car park with people not holding their brakes. Unfortunately, it's a massive bit of a clusterfuck back there for those guys. But yeah,
this might even be a full course yellow. Yeah, this is a full course yellow being called out.
Yeah, that was absolutely that was a bit shocking from those guys. But yeah.
What happened there? Come on.
Yeah, it's a bit shocking what happened there, but yeah,
they look like a bunch of wankers. Yeah, let's see, it was Godzilla, I think. It was a great start by Kirtan, maybe even jumped the lights a little bit. I'm not sure about that, but watch the Mercedes and the Ferrari, the black and green and black and yellow cars.
Yeah, you can see it all goes wrong.
Godzilla just dropping it on his own.
Yeah, now unfortunately just starts a massive bit of a cluster.
Yeah, all hell broke loose at that point, and you can see the blue and yellow Lexus just nicely squeezing by. A good avoidance from Martin.
That's not what was needed, but yeah, it is a full course yellow, so drivers will be slowing down with damaged vehicles going back to the pit lane when it's called for. I'm currently seeing Kai Banks is in the pit lane with Adam Sharp. We've got Rigel, Madley, Barnett, and Camaletto. Those guys are all in the pit lane so far. And yeah, it seems it's not great, but unfortunately that's racing at the start of quite a heated 2-hour race. And yeah, it's good action for us, but yeah, that wasn't great.
I don't remember a full course yellow ever being called. I've been here for almost a year right now. I don't remember ever seeing that, so this might be the first ever that this has happened.
Well, it looks like a green light with the... I wonder if it is a green light, but the cars seem to be picking it up a little bit. No, that's not a green light from what we're seeing, but... We'll just track back now, see what's going on.
There are still cars in the pit lane, so... That's a bit confusing to me. But I guess we are going then now. We can see Ferrari fight going on between Jonas Red and Patrick Peck. Peck manages to get by in the white and blue Ferrari.
You can see Kai Banks behind them as well, trying to make up for any time that was lost. Sorry, that's Kelleher trying to make up places as well, but he's been passed by Adam Sharp in that light blue Ferrari as well. He also has Justin Burley behind as well, and Mad Al trying to pass him as well. So getting quite tight for those guys, trying to work their way forwards from any damage and instances that happened earlier. Looking back forward, we've got Marco Badowski kind of getting caught up to there by by Hacks. It looks like he managed to get moved done on Hacks, as we see on the timing screen, on the timing board, sorry, on the left. Badowski managed to get past Hacks in the end, but yeah, still very tight in that left-hand hairpin.
Bad news for RWB Rigel, who has managed to get himself somehow a stop-and-go 30 penalty, even though we were under full course yellow. Yeah, as the cones go flying.
Yeah, go fly off into the sky.
the classic site here at the Donington Park, just the cones. You don't want to use them as a reference point. At least not for longer than a lap.
Yeah, it's not what you're wanting, but yeah, you don't need them. They're just decoration at this point. For these guys, you always run over the curbs. But yeah, it's going well so far on this restart lap. And yeah, everyone's kind of no incidents as of yet from the restart, as everyone's now heading back into their own groove. Looking up front, we've got Hacks still trying to get past Barros and the number 68 Aston Martin. It looks like Barros has passed him recently as well. So we saw Hacks in P6 earlier behind Badowski. But yeah, we've got the two Lexus behind of Barraclough and Schaefer, your car. And those guys are pushing forward as well.
Whereas Hax tries to go for a dive, it wasn't even a dive, it was maybe just trying to scare a little bit Barros away. And he needs to be worried about, not worried, but careful, because if he puts his car into a really bad position, he is gonna come under the pressure. He has a slow Ferrari. Yeah, that's, I think, Rigel, who is gone for his stop and go. He will now have to be careful to let others by safely or don't get into the way too much. This Barrowclough is currently being held up a little bit by him, but Rigel is faster. Maybe if he gets up to speed at some point.
Yeah, that's him now letting one Lexus pass, but holding up your boy Schaefer, not quite letting him past yet.
Yeah, maybe if he gets up to speed, he can maybe overtake these people and start doing some laps, but he, with being too far down the order, it will be a long 2 hours. Oh, as there is a little bit of contact, or maybe it seems to be Patrick Peck and Pinpoint getting into the fights. Literal door-to-door contact between the cars. And
there we go.
Seems a little bit like Peck escorted him a little bit wide as he's defending from Godzilla. Comes on the other side, under attack from Sharp with the inside line. Meanwhile, Pinpoint just bystander to this fight. As there might be a little bit of touch as there is a Godzilla is around, and it could be more frustrating to him.
Yeah, that just isn't what Kai Banks needs. The rear end doesn't look 100% settled, and then for a little bit of encouragement, yeah, that's quite a lot of damage. It looks like, which is unfortunate from the incident we saw earlier. But looking further ahead, we've got Adam Sharp, just getting a little bit of a tap from Pinpoint. It looks like, but Pinpoint's keeping it nice on the track and still hunting down Sharp, as we can see on our screens now.
Just using YouTube as a little bit of replay, I think that's gonna be on Sharp. He wasn't anywhere near or any alongside of Banksy there to even try a move, and he just kept the nose in at the point when he shouldn't probably have.
Yeah, unfortunately it's racing and it's for stewards to decide, but at the end of the day it makes for great entertainment for us watching. Plenty of excitement going on in the first 8 minutes of the race so far, with a full course yellow being introduced for the first time in quite a long time. I think it's the first time I've ever seen one, which is good, of course, but yeah, it's interesting to see them bring it out.
Meanwhile, more Ferrari on Ferrari battles is Dirk Gretschel defending now from Patrick Peck. It's a fight for the highest Ferrari on the grid. You also can see Charger in the Lexus just in front of them.
Yeah, you've got Charger ahead in the Golf liveried Lexus, numbered 69, which I wonder if that's appropriate or not for Charger. Maybe it's his age rather than what he gets up to in his spare time. But yeah, we're still seeing Peter Peck under trying to attack Dirk Gretschel and trying to get a move done into turn 1, but no such luck so far. Up ahead, we also have Jody Barraclough defending from Martin Schaefer. I don't know if you can give us a bit of insight if you two are working together in similar liveried cars, but yeah, you two losing the rear a little bit there from Barraclough.
Barraclough definitely is under pressure right now. And yeah, the cars are similar colors, but there is no connection between both of us.
Oh, that clears up a lot for me and for me and my cohort Nicholas, because we
No,
keep thinking about you two on the same team.
No, the solo race team that I have running is a small operation currently. Yeah, it's all of the GT Hub cars that we enter from the GT Hub server. Just as a small team, small group. So if you see any other cars with the same stickers, that's us, the GT Hub crew.
Oh, let's get the GT Hub crew alongside the Wolfpack crew, who I also run with in the RWB races. Have to have a shootout one day, but yeah, for now we're watching the shootout between Schaefer and Barraclough. It looks like Schaefer gets right up behind him, and then I don't know if it's just the error wash or if he kind of wants to back off a little bit and have another go in a better place.
From a little bit of insight, that's just gonna be him biding his time. There is no rush of getting ahead of the car in front when we are in this position that we have.
I think I saw an instant here from Curtin, but I'm just double checking to make sure I saw him stationary on the map for a second, so we're just making sure. In P1 is still Jake Moore, and P2 is Rafael Mallow, and yeah, that was correct. There was a slight mistake from Curtin.
Yeah, that's just a back end sliding on him on the entry of the corner. And that seems like a classic here at Donington. Through that corner you are loading the car so much on the brakes, you are literally torturing the left front and the entire left side of the car. And as you are braking to the corner, you are starting to lift off on a brake, even on the apex, and then that just unsettles a little bit of the balance of the car. And yeah, with these cars you can feel it usually when it happens, but if you feel it, it's a bit too late at that point.
Yeah, especially in the mid-engine and rear-engine vehicles, where you've got so much more weight over the rear axle. It's kind of like a pendulum when it goes. But yeah, we're seeing pinpoint handling for rear-engine Porsche really well, keeping it in P13 so far. Right up ahead of him, he's got Dirk Gretschel, still under attack from Peter Peck while he's catching up to Charger. It looks like the gap between Charger and Gretschel has come down, but Peter Peck is still all over the back of Gretschel.
Peter has been close to him for a few laps, but not close enough to attack. As he gets a little bit of twitch through there, and this gives Pinpoint a beautiful opportunity as we have a Mad Al going on a sightseeing tour. I don't think they need some grass cutting services right now, but okay.
Yeah, I guess if it's out of the way, he's safe. But yeah, interesting maneuver to let blue flagged lapping cars through as a blue flagged vehicle. We've still got Schaefer up ahead with Barraclough, but those two are still fighting out.
Another spin around. This will be number 15 car.
It looks like he's back underway, but we'll see if we can see what went wrong there.
And Daniel Barnett, it seems like the same thing has happened to Kirten both in Lamborghini.
Yeah, the rear end Lamborghini, those Lamborghinis just don't seem planted whatsoever.
Should have driven the Ferrari. As we see more and more happening, and there is a contact between Gretschel and Charger. No, that's not Charger, that's
Pinpoint.
Yeah, that's Pinpoint.
Yeah, it looked like too late braking from Gretschel. It was getting very heated in that pack anyhow.
Yeah, there was Pinpoint missing his braking point going wide, and Gretschel missing his braking point at the same time. And it just happened as we see Schaefer going around the outside of Barraclough, even a little bit on the grass, and gets the move really nicely done. As you can see, it's Rachel. As I said, he's starting to get up to speed, but still being so out of position. He just needs to get past these cars as quickly as he can to salvage anything from his race. But the problem is he's lapped down. The cars in front really don't have to move out of the way, but you kinda want to let the faster car by, even though he's lapped down. Because in the end, you are just gonna slow yourself down.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you want to let happen, because you never know, the guy behind you that's faster, even if he's a lap down, he could end up hindering the car ahead and it working towards your advantage. Looking further back, we're looking at Charger now with Peter Peck and Adam Sharp right behind. Those two there Adam Sharp and Peter Peck have two similar liveries, so I'm getting slightly confused watching them. But we're seeing Peter Peck try and go around the outside of Charger, but Charger giving a little bit of a squeeze and a little bit of a rub. But that's Peter Peck now got the run on Charger heading down, but Lexus has so much grunt, and you can see Peter Peck struggling to stay on his rear right. But that's Peter Peck pulled to the inside, and that's move done, it looks like.
Yeah, a nice simple move started and helping Hank did around the outside and just managed to keep it to the inside, late braking, and Charger did not defend much there. He knew that the fight is different, but the Charger started to slip around, and I think Banksy was starting to count all of his lives there, because that could have been him in another collision, and I think at that point I wouldn't blame him if he just left, but Banksy survived this one.
Yeah, like, fair play to Banks, he's still going for it. He's not showing any signs of defeat despite the bad luck he's been dealt with. He's still on the charge. He's currently in P12, so he's not in, he's now P11, so he's in the top half of the grid now. And yeah, he's showing no drop in pace so far from what I'm seeing on the timing screens. For those who are watching and are new to these streams, you can check out pitwall.live in the description of the YouTube channel to see the live timings as we do, and you'll definitely be able to see that Kai Banks, he's not showing any sign of giving up the chase for getting back into the top 10.
And this is something where having a teammate with you in a chat talking to each other kind of helps with the tough times when you just spin around, you do something stupid. You get your teammate, someone to lean on who can, talk you out of the misery and just keep each other going.
Yeah, his teammate's going to have quite a hard time trying to keep Kai motivated, still pushing forward, and ignore Pinpoint, who's quite close behind him. But we're currently looking at Curtin trying to make up for the slight whoopsie he had earlier at the bottom right-hander. So he's now still on the chase to try and pass Barros and that Aston Martin for number 68. He's still pushing forward, but we've still got Jake Moore in P1 and Mallow in P2. Those two Mercs have kind of run off a little bit, leaving Door in P3 to try and fend off Hacks, who's in that number 55 Bentley. So those guys, they're still pushing really hard, trying to make their way forward. Going to switch back over to Kai Banks, as I'm seeing a little bit of a bunching up over here in the pack.
Two Mercedes running away from the grid. Where did I see that before? But yeah, Jake Moore just confirming his status as the, I think, championship leader currently.
Yeah, he's definitely been showing strong performances all the way through. I believe in the standings overall. Jake Moore is trying to find him actually on the standings, but I can't actually see him on the standings somehow.
Or maybe I'm mistaken. It's as a driver, I don't pay that much attention to the standings where, looking where everybody else is.
Yeah, actually, in round 1 he DNF'd, round 2 they got P13, and round 3 they got P5, so they're actually doing a phenomenal job with that Mercedes. Getting into P1 right now, they must have that setup dialed in. In the standings, it's currently Phil Varley and RWB Hacks. That pairing, they've won everything so far. They've won round 1, 2, and 3 in that number 55 Bentley. So they're currently in P4, so maybe they'll catch up. Maybe a little bit of Kai Banks's bad luck will brush off onto them. But so far, yeah, they've got a little bit of work to do to try and catch up and get that P1.
Yeah, but with how Jake Moore is currently running, it's gonna be a tough task for them. And I remember being chased by him at Zandvoort. Just final stint, all good, all clear. He 20 seconds behind with 20 minutes to go. It's gonna be fine. And having that Mercedes behind you on the last lap can be a bit terrifying, not gonna lie. Mainly when you know that, mainly when you know that he's so much faster than you, he can just appear on any side of you into the corner. I mean, in the end, I maybe did not manage to hold him back, but It was a good fight.
Yeah, it's great with these kind of races because most people know each other or know of each other. So they do know how to race against each other, and everyone enjoys a good fight. But yeah, currently someone who's not having a fight at all is Jake Moore, still in P1. Peter Peck also has a 10-second gap to Adam Sharp behind him. We're seeing on the screen now. So yeah, Peter Peck, he's got a bit of respite, but he's still going to keep pushing forward.
I'm thinking if Kirtan is being held up a little bit by Barros in the Aston Martin, because Martin Schaefer is there and there behind. It might be starting to close on them slightly. He has pulled away from Jody Barrowclough. Oh, but
looking at the lap times, it does look like Schaefer's actually catching up to Curtin right now. This battle that Curtin's having with Barros is slowing both of them down. So yeah, he has to be careful because Barrowclough and Schaefer, those two are catching up in the two Lexus cars. So they will catch up to those two if this battle keeps on going. But yeah, you can see Barros positioning the car exactly where he needs to. It looks like he's going to defend the inside, giving a little bit of a squeeze, but giving just enough room for Curtin. But Curtin looks like he's going to try and get the run on him as they head on now towards the back straight, towards Sector 3.
You could have seen Curtin trying to get the switchback line, but he jumped over the curb ever so slightly, which unsettled the car. But you could have seen what he was trying to do, just send Barros into like late braking through the corner, trying to give him the worst line through the corner. But Barros, experienced in this, he knew he just had to make the corner, had to make a good exit, and he would be all fine. But really late braking there from Oliver Curtin, almost running into the back of Aston Martin, and all of this is helping Schaefer to close down. But also one thing I'm going to be interested in is the strategical part of this, because as you know, Martin does not have a teammate there this time. He is doing this 2 hours by himself. When does he decide to go into the pit lane, or how does he decide to play it? Might be interesting if he maybe goes for a different kind of fuel split. Because I'm not there to do the strategy this time, it's usually my job. As we have the number 114 card spinning around in the hairpin.
We'll take a quick look to see what happened there for the 114 car of Dirk Gretschel. See if we can catch it.
Nobody around, so probably just some lazy spin for the car.
Just too deep on the brakes, unfortunately. But good that he managed to spin it back facing the right way, and no one was harmed in that.
Good for him that he managed to keep the car pointing the right way. Meanwhile, this fight is still raging on. See Barros defending the top 5 position as hard as he can.
Yeah, even though there's 1 hour 36 left on the clock, these two, they're still battling it out all the way. Looks like Pinpoint's also catching up to Kai Banks as well, with Daniel Barnett catching up to RWB Charger, so that's Charger for P16 and Kai Banks for P11. So they're still pushing, trying to get the positions they can before they go for their first pit stop. But if you look at the Delta now, you can see Schaefer's catching right onto the back of Curtin. This battle that they're having is really kind of, that's given him a chance to push forward. And the great thing that Schaefer now has, even though he doesn't have you racing with him, he can kind of pit whenever he wants. There's no expectation. And we see Barros bottoming out and unfortunately going off the track there, which is unfortunate. But it looks like Barros managed to get back on just in front of Schaefer, which is good news for him.
And this is good news also for Kirtan. He finally gets the clean air. He can now start to hammer in the laps. But he has Hacks in front of him, and Hacks is no mean feat in this championship.
So those guys have been P1 each time, so they're really pushing for it, trying to get the win. So we'll see how it goes for RWB Hacks and his teammate Phil Varley in terms of Olivier Curtin trying to push him down. But yeah, we've also got Kai Banks. It looks like he's still battling it out further back with Adam Sharp, and we'll quickly flick onto this and see what happens into the braking zone.
That would have to be dive and a half, even 2.5 from Banksy to even try this. That would basically be a missile strike to take out Sharp, but yeah, the Mercedes might have a little bit of more grunt than the Ferrari on the straights. Maybe even on the brakes you can see him closing down really hard. But the straights here at Donington aren't as long to give you an opportunity, although Banksy now pulls to the inside neatly on the brakes. Sharp tries to hang it around. A little bit of contact between both of them. Sharp has to run wide, slightly bit onto the grass. But that is a position for Godzilla.
Yeah, it was a great move by Godzilla through Redgate. He really knew where to position the car. I have a feeling he learned that from someone else that we saw earlier on. But switching back over to Barros and Schaefer, because this gap keeps flashing up for me as being close. And close indeed it is. We've got Barros still being hunted down by Schaefer in that Lexus. And you can see Olivier Curtin, he's pulled a hefty gap since leaving those guys behind. And he's still pushing forward as they come up to a back marker, it looks like. And yeah, we'll see how it goes for those guys.
It would be Keller in the 175 Mercedes. It lets them both by. Nicely done for him. Trying to not hold up the leaders. Just doing your race the way you can. And we are getting to half an hour done. And this is the point where you can start to expect some drivers going to the pits for early pit stop in the next probably 7 minutes, I would say. Like at the 1 hour 25 mark is probably the earliest you can actually stop, counting in with the leader. And that way you could make it all the way to the end on just one stop and 45 minute stints. Remember, there is the limit of 45 minutes per stint, and there is a refueling mandatory, but you don't have to take tires. So you usually see some people maybe doing, what was it, hour and a half ish?
Yeah, it's possible for them to do it. The max stint time that they're allowed to do is 45 minutes. So in the next 15 minutes, we will have seen all the cars, apart from Madley, go into the pits, as we're seeing Justin Burley going in for a pit stop as well. But yeah, everyone should be coming into the pits in the next within the next 15 minutes, or they breach that max stint time. So expect to see some of the cars, maybe Schaefer will go in to try and get some clean air and go for the undercut, same with Kelleher as well in P19, and Kai Banks as well, who's still hounding the back of Sharp. So maybe we'll see something from there, but yeah, it's kind of a, do you go for the undercut or do you go for the overcut?
That would depend on a strategy. If the first guy was doing only the first 45 minutes, then I would maybe go for an overcut because of a lighter car. You could do a little bit faster lap times, probably. But if you are on a heavy car, maybe pitting early could put you into the clean air where you can do lap times. It all depends on that, where you are gonna go out.
I'm curious to see what happened to Kai Banks, because I'm pretty sure he already passed a Ferrari a lap ago, so I'm wondering what happened to Kai, if he got some more bad luck thrown in, or if Sharp just managed to get past again in the end. Unfortunately, we missed that action on screen, but yeah, these guys, Kai Banks still on the charge, Sharp doing a great job at pushing ahead, not looking too much in his mirrors and still going for it.
Yeah, maybe also letting Sharp by, you don't know, there was a little bit of touch between them that sent Sharp a little bit wide, so you know, sometimes when there is a contact between the cars and you gain a position, you wanna maybe let them back to avoid any like steward's inquiry. But anything is possible that could have happened off camera.
You can't see me because I forgot. I keep forgetting I don't have a camera, but I am nodding in agreement with you. But yeah, you see Kai Banks going for a very late lunge. That's quite a late lunge there. And yeah, I think Kai knows that was a bit too optimistic as he's letting Sharp go past again so he can do the move a bit more respectfully. But yeah, that was quite an optimistic lunge from Kai. I wonder if he just outbraked himself. Oh, I'm losing the ability to speak. But yeah, very opportunistic. We're seeing up ahead in P3 though, but Door's catching up to Mallow.
That could be a little bit of frustration probably also from Banksy. Like he was in top 3 for the start. And now he has to fight his way back into the top 10 and being held up behind the Ferrari and feeling that he maybe is faster but does not have the speed to actually make the move anytime soon. So that could be a little bit of frustration, maybe just trying to get by so you can get on with the race. Maybe we could see Banksy go into the pits as soon as possible to just get out of the fight, get into some clean air probably, and pass the car on strategy alone by doing some fast laps.
Yeah, even if Kai Banks gets out, swaps with his other driver, goes for a walk, maybe cools down a little bit, getting ready for a stint later on, because he has had horrible luck so far, as we've mentioned. But we're seeing him go for the move again to the inside at Melbourne, but he does the right thing and backs out and brakes at the correct point. So we'll see if he comes in now. They've only got about 14 minutes left on the clock to go for their pit stop. So I expect to see a bunch of drivers going in. We've already seen Camaletto come in from one of the top 10 guys, and we've also seen Mad Al already do his mandatory pit stop as well for the first 45 minutes.
And Banksy not coming in. I think that he might feel he's better on the brakes than the Ferrari in front into the Melbourne hairpin, as you said. And you sometimes have these moments where you feel like you can get by someone in certain place, but you just need that little bit extra of the time gain as they both run wide. Yeah, you sometimes have the feeling that I am better here, and you sometimes try to go for the move, but it does not end up in a good way. The way that it ended there was probably one of the better ones when Kai just had to let the Ferrari by and didn't lose any major time.
Well, that's us now looking at Mallow with Door closing in, still getting closer and closer with the number 917 Lexus. We also saw the number 69 Lexus of Charger heading into the pits as well, so I wonder if that'll be a driver change or if it's just going to be for some more fuel, because you can take the tyres to 19 minutes, even though it's a bit of a stretch. But what do you guys do with Schaefer, Peter? Do you take the tyres on for 2 stints, or do you just change them every time?
No, there is no point in changing the tyres at every stint. I think every car has the same feeling, or at least most of them I think should. Because it's 30 seconds for the tyre change, and there is no way you are gonna regain 30 seconds on these tyres at any stint. The Pirelli tyres that these cars have, they are pretty robust, they can take a beating, and there is a little bit of difference between all the new tyres, but there is not as much difference between what tyres that have done 10 laps and the tyres that are new in a race stream. There would have to be something also wrong with the car for that to happen. So it's just taking the tyres for the hour and 15. They can do that pretty easily. There is I don't think I ever saw tyres that could not do that. So take it for the stint and a half, and then just switch the tyres for the second driver. That's usually me. So I get the 45-minute stint on a new set.
Sounds like a perfect plan. We're currently looking at Olivier Curtin catching up to the back of Hacks as well. Curtin, he's really pushed forward to try and catch up to this car in P4, and he's still putting on the pressure. Yeah,
this Lamborghini squad also has been looking strong all the way through, but yeah, there has been incidents here and there. This somewhat also helped us in some races, that people have just tripped over each other, over themselves, even just doing small mistake that costs you a lot. So there is something that helps the The slower guys like us, where we just drive the car slowly, not slowly, but steadily, keep it on the road, and the result in the end arrives itself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually the slow one whenever I'm driving in the car, so I usually just try and bring the car back. If I can make a position, great. If not, it's not the end of the world. That's what the other drivers in the team are for.
Oh yeah, meanwhile, now it's Dor being under big pressure from Kirtan. Be interesting what Kirtan does this time around, as I don't think Dor is someone who is gonna let him by so easily, or there would be any big mistake that the Kirtan can expect. Alright, it has, my bad. Mistaken the two of them. I think this time Kirtan will have to work quite hard for this position.
Oh, you can see that snap of a wheel at the rear just wanting to come round. That car just does not look settled going through the old hairpin. It looks absolutely nasty. And that's unfortunately Curtin losing a lot of time to Dor.
That's maybe a good time to go into the pit lane right now, get a little bit of calm down through the pits, get back out and do laps, and sometimes that helps when you can get out of the situation. And some drivers are like that. When you put them onto the track, they will just do laps. They don't need any target to chase, anything to defend from, as we see Barros going really wide through the chicane. Martin Chiffin not close enough to try any move. Maybe he will try to go around the outside and force Barros into a situation. But Barros keeps it to the curb and survives this time around. Schaefer is really pushing him quite heavily. Maybe one of them could come into the pit lane at this point. Alright, but Kirtan has. Kirtan is in the pit lane, as I said.
Yeah, no surprise there from Curtin going in. He really needed to kind of change it up a little bit, get a different bit of pace. Back on board with this fight that's been going on forever is Kai Banks and Adam Sharp. Kai's still struggling to try and get past Sharp. Sharp seems to be putting the car in all the right places, but yeah, I'm sure Kai at some point will figure out a way to get past Adam. But so far he's not managed to find one.
Yeah, I'm still surprised that these people stay out for as long. I think I would have called it into the pit lane at this point, because you might be are faster as Godzilla tries to maybe go around the outside through this section, but as the track is turning from left to right, the gap just closes. We see Sharp going a little bit wide, but not much time has been lost. And Godzilla still needs to go back to the drawing board and think of something of how to push Sharp into a predicament, push him into a mistake.
We've currently got Camaletto effectively pushing Pinpoint up the hill here. Pinpoint, of course, had the slight incident earlier on in the race when they were going around Goddard's, but you can see that damaged rear bumper, so that won't be helping them too much. But he seems to be managing to hold off Camaletto pretty well, given that the Bentley has so much more pace on the straights than that poor Porsche.
And we have also Hacks going into the pit lane, so probably just trying to cover off Kirtan. Kirtan has lost, what was it, like 2 seconds-ish, what it looked like, but this is a good thing for them to do. They are not chasing the cars in front, they are not faster, so there is nothing to lose to the cars in front, but you can lose to the car behind if you just let the situation go out of control. So this is clever, just going to the pit lane, you are probably going to end up going out in front of the car you were fighting, so there is no undercut possibility for Kirtan, and he has to redo everything all over again. And I think that is exactly what happened.
Unfortunately for Olivier Curtin, it was not a quick stop. It was about 57 seconds for a pit stop, which it's not sluggish, it's not horrendous, but it's not the fastest out there. We've seen people do the pit stops in about 45, 42 seconds, so it's not the fastest pit stop that we've had, which could hinder him later on in the race. But yeah, we've still got Jack Camaletto still pushing Pinpoint round the track right now, desperately. Well, not desperately, but he's still trying to get past him. Camaletto, of course, is pitted effectively, so Pinpoint's not really who he's fighting. Pinpoint at this stage is just holding Camaletto up and ruining his undercut that he was potentially going for. So it's not good news for Camaletto. He's still fighting effectively someone further down the grid. So we'll see how this pans out for Camaletto in terms of his overall position, but yeah, it's not good news for him.
But also, this is the other thing that is the part of the strategy, that if you come out behind a car that is slower than you, but not slow enough for you to get by fast, then yeah, it creates just a bad strategical call when you lose time. And the time is really important part of these races.
100%, but you can see the launch that the Porsche gets out of the corners compared to the Bentley. The Bentley does catch him up towards the end of the straights, but you can see the Porsche just walks away on exit of the corners. So it's brilliant. It's brilliant for Pinpoint as he's just setting lap after lap, but Camaletto is slightly getting held up and maybe ruining his undercut. But we'll see how it goes for those guys. Dor is still fighting with Barros, it seems, from what we're seeing. With Malo, Dor is now fighting Malo, trying to get P2. These guys have stayed out. This could be good news for Olivier Curtin when all the pit stops are done, but yeah, so far Curtin is still behind Jack Camaletto in terms of track position. Those two have already done their first pit stop, as well as Hacks as well. Looks like a car's gone off, number 15.
Yeah, that was Daniel Barnett in the green Lamborghini. So yeah, that's not. It seems like the Lamborghini does not like that section of the circuit.
Yeah, I wonder if the car's just bottoming out. No, he's gone onto the grass somehow. Not quite sure why the grass was an option, but yeah, unfortunately that's where it ended up. So it could be a controller disconnect or a steering wheel disconnect, or just a momentary it's a bit of understeer. So yeah, it's properly nasty when it happens to you, but yeah, unfortunately that's racing.
That was very weird of an incident. We have Jack Camaletto going into the pit lane. So is going Jonas Red. Meanwhile, Dor still behind the Mercedes. And who goes into the pit lane? Dor goes in. I think Malho was thinking about it, but he just decided last second to not go there. Probably also seeing the wall on the inside, or maybe the Lexus.
Yeah, I think the blue flagged Aston Martin may have spooked him a little bit before going in. So I think that's kind of why he may have backed out of his going into the pit lane.
And also Schaefer has managed to get by, and we have a fight here between Sharp and Godzilla. Godzilla managed to finally get by the Ferrari. Sharp trying to mount an attack back towards the Mercedes, but not this time. Godzilla has finally got past the fight that has been going on for the last half an hour. As it ends
but it looks
now.
like Sharp isn't going to be giving up anytime soon. He's still hounding the back of Kai Banks.
Meanwhile, Martin Schaefer has managed to get by Barros. Although Barros is in a pit lane, so probably a change between them due to that. And I think everyone has to come into the pits at the end of this lap. We have hour 16, so like a minute and a half remaining to cross the pit entry line. Some maybe have it closer and left it later than the others.
Yeah, it's just doable for these guys, but anyone crossing over the line now, they've had it. Unfortunately, it will be a penalty for those guys by the end of the race, because there's no... Well, they will have gone over their maximum stint time, so it's unfortunate news for those guys, but you can see the pit lane. In the track map on the right-hand side, you can see all those grey dots that are kind of staying stationary, and there's a lot of them. That's a lot of people going into the pit lane. You can see Jake Moore, Malo are in the pit lane, those guys with P1, P2. You can also see Pinpoint, Gretschel, Camaletto's just come out, Barnett's just dived in. Lots of people with 2s next to their name or their car number, they should be heading in.
I'll be interested in what happens with the fight between Schaefer and... What's that, those Barros? If Barros is doing good enough of an outlap to get by. Meanwhile, Charger with the message, the track is cold, man. Yeah, the track is gonna be really cold. It's Britain in the end, mate.
Well, I don't
We
know.
don't-
18 degrees is really warm for me. I'm usually out in shorts and t-shirt at 17, 18 degrees.
Already. That's like light short sleeves, but not shorts yet, I would say.
No, I'd be getting my my G-string on, get tanning, out in the back garden, properly soaking up the rays at 18 degrees. It's so hot.
Wait, where are you right now?
Scotland, so yeah, we'll take any bit of sunshine that we get.
Yeah, it's British weather. You know, it's classic. Meanwhile,
So,
there has been change of drivers. Robert De Vries taking over from Daniel Barnett. It was slightly
Charger
there.
getting very slightly there. Sorry, FX getting very slightly there in number 69. But that's him now on the charge to try and get past De Vries. And getting right up the back, FX he's really going for it.
It looks like Martin Schäfer has gotten by Barros. So I'm not sure what happened there. Barros has lost loads of time. That's like 7, 8, 9 seconds to Schäfer, maybe a bit more. So maybe Barros has decided to take the tires. Maybe something has happened during the stint that has made them really bad. Meanwhile, side by side between De Vries and FX. FX tried to hang it around, but a little bit of oversteery moment with the car and also a faster car that is approaching both of them. That looks like Patrick Peck still behind the wheel of that Ferrari. It laps also Robert De Vries. And now maybe an opportunity for FX. Has to go around the outside into the final corner. He still hangs it around and just gets sent out wide. There was possibility for a switchback there for sure, but FX not managing to just break the car through the corner, like break it around, swing it to the apex. So now back to square one, back behind the Lamborghini.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for FX. It looked like he was on the throttle too soon going around Goddard's, which just pushed for nose out. He had a perfect opportunity to try and get past, but now that Aston Martin rejoining has been the perfect opportunity for FX to get right on the back of De Vries in that number 15 Lamborghini. But yeah, you can see FX is... it looks like the aero wash is kind of hindering a little bit to try and stay on the back of him, but this is a chance now as they come up round copies onto Starkeys, and this could be his opportunity to try and pull off the same move again, going through the S's. As they go on now, you can see De Vries quickly switching to the right hand side, maybe trying to throw off the slipstream, but yeah, you can see FX being very careful to get the run perfectly through as they head on now down towards the Melbourne hairpin.
Oh, but that was a defense from De Vries there, I think, and that was not necessary. FX was nowhere close to even an attempt overtaking to that chicane. But you could have seen De Vries already pulling towards the inside of there, which gave him a slightly worse run through the corner. And now FX is... Oh, that's a bit too close for comfort for FX.
Yeah, that was definitely too close for comfort there.
Really close between both of them, but FX managed to hold it and we still continue in this fight. Fight on the outside of the top 20 positions. And FX probably has a little bit more pace in the car than De Vries. He
It really
can't
looks like
use
he
it
does.
well. Yeah, but he still can't use the pace as well as he would want to. And there
You
are
can see
more
FX is
cars
still
lining up
pushing,
behind
pushing,
him.
though. And he's really going for it as well. You can see him desperately trying to get back onto the back of De Vries. Having a look around, and I can also see Barros as well is catching up to the back of Sharp with Kai Banks close behind as well. This is a proper three-way battle happening right behind the battle we were watching previously.
So Godzilla has managed to lose the position back to Sharp during the pit stops. That's gonna be a bit... That's gonna hurt a little bit for the Mercedes driver for sure. So you can see him rejoining the fight, but this time they have also Aston Martin for company as they all catch up back to Oh, a little bit of contact
that's
between
not-
FX and Barros. Barros letting the car wash away to the outside, but FX was still there in the corner. Kind of forgot that there is another car. This is a free position for Godzilla.
Yeah, unfortunately, someone wasn't looking at their radar to make sure that they were clear when they came back across the nose, but it happens, and luckily there wasn't too much damage inflicted from what we can see, but yeah, that's going to hinder FX as he now has to work back forward to try and catch up to De Vries again.
I think he should not take him that much time, because De Vries had to let these two cars be behind him by. But now Godzilla, he has passed that Ferrari once, he has passed that Ferrari twice. Can he do it also the third time, just for the fun?
He's still got over an hour and 10 minutes left for him and his teammate to do it. Not sure if he's soloing this tonight or if he does have his teammate with him. But yeah, it's a properly close one for him to try and push back forward.
Well, instead of thinking of the attack, he has to be on defense now, because Barros is close behind that Mercedes under the rear wing. Maybe there will be a chance into the hairpin. Not this time around. Godzilla defends the position, although he runs slightly wide on the apex, and this gives Barros the opportunity. Side by side we go. Barros has the outside line. Coming to the final hairpin. Godzilla keeps it on the curb, on the inside. And there's just no way, not enough grip in the tires for Barros, but he has the run now. He kept it side by side, so he has the overlap into turn 1, has the inside line, under the brakes. Can he do it? Godzilla will have the more flowing line, maybe better exit could be there for him, as he now has the hard task of hanging it around the outside here. But he has to fall back in the end. Barros had the line, had the overlap, basically had everything over the Mercedes driver.
Yeah, that was brave of Barros to hold it around the outside at the Craners to get the move done. We can also see Jack Camaletto slowly catching this battle as well. He's just passed FX and De Vries. You can see them in the background, FX and De Vries still fighting it out, despite what happened earlier. It's going quite well for De Vries so far. He's still fighting, managing to keep ahead of FX. I think that slight tap that FX had with the lapping car has given De Vries a bit of breathing room so he can kind of recollect his thoughts and have another think about what's going on.
Yeah, that can be really helpful sometimes, when you just get a moment to breathe, moment to start thinking normally about the race. Because you have the car behind you, you are thinking about them, and more they start to attack, the more and more you think about them. So if you get that moment where you can just concentrate on your laps, on your braking points, it sometimes helps to just regain the speed and maybe even pull away from the car, but I don't think it's happening this time around. SFX is still keeping it within the second of De Vries. And these are the moments when you just get that little bit of time to reset yourself. This fight is still going on. Barros has gone past Godzilla, but not closing up to sharp. But maybe there might be something happening in near future. So Godzilla had a speed advantage over Sharp in the previous stint, so you could expect that Barros and Godzilla would get past Sharp in the end. But the Ferrari has proven to be a tricky car to get by, probably maybe running a bit less downforce, or maybe just the others having a bit more wing on the car than necessary, and that's the thing you need to also take into account as Godzilla goes for the inside again into Melbourne. And yeah, we saw him being strong into this corner over the course of the race, and he gets the move done quite nicely.
You have to be careful though, because Barros clearly hasn't given up on the attack, and he's going back again as they go around Goddard's onto Wheatcroft Straight. And you can see that beautiful sunset, the beautiful, golden sunshine coming through. Was it golden hour? Something like that?
Yeah, the golden hour is here, boys.
Yeah, golden hour is it's absolutely beautiful right now. you want to get a post for your Instagram, now's the time. So you go past Mad Al in the number 4 McLaren. But yeah, Barrows is still on him as they go through the old hairpin, heading up now towards Starkey's and McLean's. But yeah, it's still going. I'm surprised Sharp hasn't pulled away a bigger gap given the fighting between Kai and Barros, but he's doing well keeping these two behind and letting them fight each other. But you can see Barros going slightly off-road there. Looked like he was trying to hold on to a bit of an arse swipe. But that's now giving Camaletto the chance to get right back onto his arsehole as well.
Oh, that was really scary for Barros. Luckily, he managed to keep the car pointing the correct way. But you could have seen the Aston Martin slowly starting to turn away, and he managed to collect the cars and avoid the barrier, but that's a big time loss. Most importantly, he's under pressure from Jack Camaletto, and when you have car behind, you start losing more and more of the time. Just because you need to be on the defense. Maybe Camaletto can use Barros as a tow to get closer to Godzilla and Sharp, because Godzilla and Sharp are gonna be battling yet again for sure. So this might be good for Camaletto to just get closer to these and collect any scraps that might fall his way.
Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to break away from these two because we've got a fight up ahead for P4 and P5 between Telhiro and Emo Plate, the number 21 Mercedes and 917 Lexus. These two are still... It's kind of a recent battle from what I'm seeing on the timing screen. But yeah, it's going strong for Emo, who's still holding on to the back of Telhiro.
Yeah, their teammates have been fighting a little bit or just being really close, chasing each other. Well, the first thing, so, you know, they are just picking up where they have left off. And Emo, yeah, he's fast. Most of these guys are, but racing against the people that are in the top 5 positions, it's not so easy to defend from them, let's say that way. You don't have many opportunities to do something. But you know, there are fights everywhere right now as Sharp is running slightly away through the hairpin. Godzilla has to move himself into a predicament, into a bad position. This gives opportunity to Barros. You can see Godzilla braking heavily to the corner. Now Barros dives down the inside, gets the position back. And Sharp is right now just a cork in a bottle, holding up everyone. And the guys behind him are fighting. Meanwhile, oh, that's really in between them. Barros going really deep on the brakes. Just as a return of the service, Godzilla gets by him yet again.
This is probably getting intense for P8 of these 4, because now we've got Camaletto getting into the mix as well. He's slowly catching up to this pack as well, who have been battling it out for, I think, for over an hour, for coming up to an hour at least. They've been battling it out since the very start, after the first virtual safety car. So they're still battling it out, going for it. This has meant that Peter Peck has managed to grab a little bit of a lead, a bit of respite as he heads on towards trying to catch up to Martin Schaefer. But yeah, Sharp, Godzilla, Barros, Camaletto, these are the names of the drivers in the best battle that we've seen all race so far.
Oh, and a little bit of slide from Sharp, and this might result in 2 positions lost. 3 wide as we go into the hairpin. Who will be bravest on the brakes? Looks like Godzilla takes the inside line, but runs really wide. This now gives the position back to Barros, and also Camaletto is coming in for the party, so Sharp, one mistake and he has lost 3 positions in just 1 hairpin as he is to slot behind the Mercedes, and Camaletto gets around the outside. Although Sharp gets the run out of the hairpin, there will be the inside line for Camaletto maybe to finish off the move. As you can see them getting really close, touching to each other. And that's Sharp 3 positions down.
Yeah, that's one way to get cucked, isn't it? For Sharp, he's really lost out, but that's now the cork out of the bottom, and you can already see we've got Barros speeding off ahead, trying to catch up to Peter Peck. You can also see Kai Banks and Camaletto. They've now started to maintain the fight for P9, but it looks like Camaletto, he's got the pace certainly, but Kai Banks, he's a man on the mission right now, and it looks like he's that little tap has kind of made him lost out slightly as they head round copies onto Starkey's straight heading towards the S's. And that's now, Camaletto up into P9, with Kai Banks maybe having to start to think about what's happening with Adam Sharp behind him.
Oh, but Banks is not gonna be happy about that touch. That was really close between both of them, and definitely he will be slightly angered under the helmet. And yeah, the Sharp has managed to close him down back after the mistake that he did. Sharp has not fallen off too much from the cars in front of him, but he also had a change of places. Emma Plate has managed to get by Del Hero, so it is Plate up into P4. So both fights resolving at the same time.
Barely fit a bit of cling film between these two. Kai Banks seems to be all over the back end of Camaletto, trying to find a way past, maybe pressure Camaletto into a mistake. But you can see Camaletto is now slowly reeling Barros back in, as Barros now goes on his charge to try and catch up to Peter Peck of the number 91 Ferrari. So they're still going for it. I'm having a look around as well. We've still got De Vries and FX fighting for the P17 position. Those guys are still going at it as well. And Tohira and Emo Plate up ahead in P4, P5. Those guys are still batting out. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember if Emo Plate was behind Tohira. I'm pretty sure.
No, they have switched around just as we were watching the fight between Barros, Camaletto and Godzilla.
Yeah, it really looks like I'm kind of gutted we missed that. But yeah, that other battle was absolutely phenomenal, watching everything play out.
So there's more fights happening now. Matt Al, as I said, holding up Robert De Vries and FX. He has been looking like he could have passed Robert, but he has slowly fallen away as they are currently being approached by Jake Moore, the race leader, putting a lap on the slower cars. And maybe there will be the opportunity right now for someone to do something, as we see Barros going into the pit lane. And this is way too early for him to make a pit stop, so that's essentially putting him out of the race for the top 10 positions, because there are still 57 minutes remaining in the race. So he's not going to be able to do that in one stint.
No, he will have to do another pit stop if he doesn't want to exceed the maximum stint time. So that's unfortunate for Barros. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe he has a bit of damage.
Fuel?
Maybe fuel, maybe damage. It's kind of unfortunate that's happening. You can see on the track map how clustered it is. We've got effectively two packs. We've got the guys going through Starkey's now, and then you've got the guys heading down the Craner curves. And yeah, half the track is practically unused for a while. It just shows the how many corks there are in a bottle right now. But yeah, you've still got this battle between FX, De Vries, with De Vries trying to catch up to Madal, and is now actually on the back end of Madal after Jake Moore passed him. So we'll see how it plans out for those guys.
Yeah, this could be a nice three-way fight between these guys, three different manufacturers, so three different cars with different characteristics. But
yeah, really, it's three different manufacturers from three different countries with three different layouts, effectively. So it is interesting to see how it will pan out. But yeah, the McLaren is so good on the brakes, whereas Alexis just has so much grunt. The Lambo, it's basically an Audi, but it does hold the corners when it needs to.
Yeah, the Lamborghini, it's a weird car in itself. I remember seeing some friends trying it, not being happy in the beginning, but in the end starting to like the car. And we see also Kirtan in the pit lane, so this is interesting. He goes in as well. Could it be fuel consumption being this high? You can't have this high fuel consumption that you would need to pit so early. And I didn't see any penalties for them, so yeah, this is really weird. Why would they pit with 55 minutes to go?
This is very confusing. I've not seen anything about rule changes so far, so we're just going off of what we've been told by the race organisers that the max stint time is 45 minutes. So not quite sure what's happened to Curtin and Barros. Not sure what's going on. It looks like Barros has had a driver change as well. So Mike Bull is now in the car of the number 68 Aston Martin. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on with those guys. But yeah, we've now got FX still kind of rebounding behind De Vries, trying to get past, and De Vries still trying to fight Mad Al. So we'll see what happens with those guys. But we also have Peter Peck, who's up ahead. I'm not sure what I just heard there. I heard a car hit a barrier, but
I don't see anything on the minimap. Meanwhile, we see Robert De Vries defending beautifully against FX. Robert ran wide a little bit on the exit of turn 1. And then FX just had the run, but Robert managed to keep it around the outside. And this just shows that the outside line can sometimes be the better racing line, as you have more flowing run through the corner. You have bigger radius of the corner, so you can carry more speed. Meanwhile, Kirten has come out in P10. So we have a car spinning around, the number 97 spun around on the start of the start-finish straight, so that's gonna be a danger for other cars. Justin slowly making his way back probably into the pit lane. And what has happened there? Was there contact with the Mercedes?
very slight. Yeah, unfortunately, that looks like it was by the Mercedes, which it's unfortunate and not quite on. But it's a good thing to see him getting swiftly off the track to not hinder other people. But yeah, that is unfortunate for Justin Burley, who's been shown great improvement throughout his time in RWB. So it is unfortunate to see him in the pit lane repairing that damage. But heading back on with De Vries, trying to defend off FX. The battle's still going on. It looks like Mad Owl's managing to pull a gap between them. But yeah, we also see Olivier Curtin and Adam Sharp also getting close together as well on the timing screen.
Yeah, Kirtan will have his hands full right now with trying to salvage what he can. It will be a top 10 finish for them, but yeah, interesting strategy that they have to run right now. You know, I would expect this with the driver change as well. You know, if you need to run away from the computer at some point, you know, things happen that need your attention. But with them not changing driver, and I just can't think of anything that could have happened that would force a pit stop. Only thing maybe just running wide here and getting oversteer that sends you into the pit lane. But meanwhile, Kirtan has the inside line going into turn 1. And Sharp, yeah, that does not defend that heavily. Realizes that the car in front of him is not fighting him for... Well, it's for position, but Kirtan has so much more pace over Sharp that it is not a question if, it's just a question of when does it happen. Yeah, so Sharp doing the more reasonable thing of just letting the car by and going on with your race. There is still plenty of time to go, so no point of losing time in a fight where you're probably not gonna win the fight in the end.
Yeah, it's going well for Tyrion as well. He's catching up to Mike Bull as well. We can see, but yeah, I'm getting slightly distracted by messages from people commenting about the race and how it's been quite action packed. So yeah, it's going well for those guys, and yeah, we'll see how Tyrion gets on, trying to defend off Mike Bull.
Tyrion already ahead of Mike Bull.
Yeah, I'm all over the place right now.
It's different when drivers come into the pit lane, and yeah, the grid is a bit shuffled right now, with some people then going in a bit earlier than they would want. And quite a nice comeback drive from Tyrion and Rigel. Watching currently P14 and slowly creeping onto McCain in front of them. Gets him in the yellow Ferrari.
Currently trying to look around, see what battles there are. We've still got the De Vries battle with FX, but I want to kind of see what else is there. What else is going on? We've got Camiletto still with Kai Banks as well. That battle's kind of ongoing with Kai trying to catch up to Camiletto, but yeah, it looks like Camiletto still has to do another pit stop, even though he's done an extra one, I think, from what I can see.
Yeah, Camiletto, one of the cars that was caught up in the incident at the start. So yeah, but you can tell from the time he definitely needs to stop again. But Godzilla does not seem to have much of a speed over Camiletto. He's there and thereabout within the 1 second. You can see it's closely 7, 8 tenths, but nowhere near a range where Godzilla would be a problem for Camiletto. And that's definitely gonna be a good thing for Camiletto, who can just does not have to worry about Godzilla directly behind him. Even though you have the car behind, you know, you have him at the hand's reach where you're in a good position. Although Godzilla has closed down Camiletto in the first section of the track. Really interesting, maybe a momentary lapse of concentration for Camiletto wars run through the corner and all of a sudden Godzilla is there.
I just want to flick over to this battle as well between McCain and Tyrion. I keep seeing the gap light up red, warning me that I should probably switch over to these guys, as they seem to be yo-yoing between them.
Yeah, the gaps are small everywhere around. The drivers don't want to leave us with one fight at a time, they all want to fight simultaneously. This is going to be interesting seeing two Ferraris of McCain and Tyrion, the different characteristics of the cars. And also you have the third Ferrari of Patrick Peck behind them, so you know, you can now see 3 different drivers of the same car at the 3 different speed points. And you can just now watch and see what they are doing differently to each other, as there is Tyrion already pushing McCain, as McCain just caught a little bit of grass and also what looked like a tiny bit of oversteer on the exit. And he definitely feels the pressure of Tyrion right now. You can see so much more speed that Tyrion had on the exit of the corner. McCain maybe thought about closing the gap, but there is no way he was gonna close that. Tyrion just just rocketed his way around McCain, who in the end also lets Peck by. That's a nice position gain for Tyrion and who was it? Rigel, yeah.
Yeah. Currently keeping an eye on the gaps, as I do. I am the gap man. I'm all about those gaps. And we've got De Vries and FX. This battle's still ongoing. We've also got 1 minute 30 until the final pit window opens effectively. So we'll see how that goes for these guys. As you can see, an Aston Martin parked on the side there, getting back underway. That looks like, sorry, it's the 175 Mercedes of Kelleher. I suspect he may have done the same thing McCain did, taking the runoff at the S's. But you can see FX as they head on now towards Goddard's, trying to get back onto the back of De Vries as they go onto Wheatcroft Straight. So maybe he'll try and go for the inside at Redgate if he can catch up, but that gap looks too big for an opportunistic dive.
Yeah, the pit window, the pit window you think about is gonna open, but I wouldn't expect anyone to come in at least for another 2 minutes, just to be safe from the leader, because I did the same mistake and others did the same mistake as well, as we see Keller coming to the pit lane, but yeah, this is way too early. know.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's 40 seconds too early. You should have done another lap, and then you'd be Gucci. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, as we say, you have the 45 minutes to go, but you need to also think that the leader is not gonna finish the race exactly on the 45 minutes. He's probably gonna do another lap. So you need to also count with that other lap. As now, Kirtan sizing up Godzilla. Godzilla has opened the door a slightly bit, but that was all Kirtan needed.
That was a beautiful switchback from Curtin there at Melbourne. Trying to stick
Godzilla.
on the outside of Godzilla as well.
You also see Camoletto going to the pit lane, so that's gonna be really tight in the end. I think the timer starts when you exit the pit lane, so definitely will be close between them. It is even more closer between Godzilla and Kirtan. You could see Godzilla escorting Kirtan slightly away from the apex of the hairpin.
The car of Kai Banks, it looks like it has so much setup work done, so you can see it ride over the curbs with no problem whatsoever. When you watch them go through the old hairpin, you can see the car's properly stable, whereas whenever we see the Lamborghinis go through, they always seem to go a bit sideways going through it.
Maybe it's the trait of the car, just always on the limit, always sliding. And Kirtan got a better run through the corner, but Godzilla neatly shut the door and did not give him any opportunity to go again through the chicane. And Kirtan trying to find a way around, but these two highly skilled in the racing here at RWB. And Godzilla knows what he has to do, where he needs to put the car, so that Kirtan does not get the opportunity, does not even start to think about maybe putting on a move. Now you can see here Jake Moore just going away from the camera shot, the current leader of this race. I have to say, with quite a big lead to the next car behind him. Well, they see Adam Sharp going into the pit lane for his final stop that should be. And I wonder what's gonna happen between these two, because there is still some time to pit. There are like 12-ish minutes to go until you have to really stop if you have maxed out your stint limit in the first stint. So it will be interesting which of these two goes in first and who performs the overcut or undercut.
100%. We see Hacks in the number 55 Bentley. He's just gone onto the pits as well with Adam Sharp and FX as well. So FX and De Vries, that little battle is over for the time being. But we've still got Mike Bull and John McCain still battling it out as they go around Goddard's onto Wheatcroft. So we'll see who goes in, but it looks like they're both determined to keep this battle going all the way to the end.
This is going to be close between them. Mike Bull taking over from his teammate. But they have come out behind the traffic of McCain in front of them. You can see the Ferrari just has enough speed to keep Bull behind. This is a trouble for the Aston Martin, because they were fighting the cars in front, they were fighting around Godzilla, and maybe could have been in the position that Kirtan is, where Kirtan Varley are, as Godzilla has gone into the pit lane. As we also expect others, as Kirtan definitely will have to come in. And does Phil Varley have to come in, or did they change the driver? Oh yeah, I think they have changed from Hacks. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, it looks like they have. Yeah, it has. So it's now Phil Varley in the number 55 Bentley rather than Hacks. But yeah, I think Kai Banks is soloing this from so far, unless he's got one more guy to go in at the end. But we're seeing pinpointing for the 543 Porsche, the only Porsche actually on the grid. He's gone into the pits as well. I'm surprised there's no BMWs at all on this grid.
The BMW, it's an interesting car. It can feel good on certain tracks, but it's slowly reaching the end of the life cycle. I mean, it has to be one of the oldest running GT3's right now that there actually are. So it gets harder to work with that car, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, very true. I mean, they are bringing out the M4 GT3 with the new grille, the controversial grille. Wonder if anyone out there listening is actually going to tell us their opinion on the new BMW grille, whether they like it or hate it. I used to hate it, but I'm kind of like it now.
It's same with everything that is new. You don't like it at the first, but you get used to it in the end.
Yeah, it's grown on me.
It's same as when the Halo came into F1. People hated it. It was ugly. People didn't like anything about it. But you look at the F1 cars now, and you look at let's say the 2017 car, you're like, it looks so weird without the Halo. So it's these things. We will get used to it in the end for sure. I mean, there will be people who don't like it. Personally, I don't mind it as much anymore. It is definitely not as pretty as the smaller grill was. But also looking at the M4 GT3, it kinda looks to be even bigger than the M6.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is achievement of itself. Like, how can you make the car even bigger than the M6?
Yeah, especially when the M6 is meant to be the big boy in the BMW series without going into the SUV stuff, so it's kind of weird to see. But yeah, we've currently got Charger, who's swapped back in for FX and the number 69 Lexus. They've managed to pass Kevin Shepherd, and they're now on the hunt for Robert De Vries and the number 15 Lambo. However, De Vries hasn't pitted yet, so there is still time for them to try and claw back. It looks like Charger might be going for the undercut, but it looks like Kelleher's got a drive-through for track limits, it seems.
And have you seen the body language of the car? The Charger seems to be catching oversteer at almost any point. The guy is just like there and more snap. Really interesting behavior of the car.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you like your car set up. For me, ACC feels very weird when you get oversteer. I prefer my sims like RF2 and AC, where if you slide the car, it doesn't penalize you. Whereas ACC, it rewards smooth driving. You have to be very smooth on the throttle, brake, steering, no jerky movements, and it just rewards you if you can do all that with immense pace.
Maybe that's better for me because I feel quite good on ACC. I kinda like the car a bit more oversteer. There's slightly too much of an oversteer for Charger. Yeah, I like when the car is pointy. When I turn in, I want the front end to turn in. I don't want to be like battling mid-corner, trying to think of what is going on. I'm just hoping that I won't run wide through the corner. So yeah, different characteristics, and you need to find the car for you in the end.
Yeah, exactly. And the great thing about ACC is the variety of GT3 cars there are, so you can find the one that suits you quite well. I'm more of a McLaren/BMW driver, just because the McLaren's brakes are they're just insane.
McLaren is interesting because I did a few races in it, and mainly when in the 2019 spec, the car felt like it had no front end at some points. Like I turned in, and I just did not feel much from it.
Yeah.
And also at low speed, it just felt really bad to like turn to rotate compared to the Ferrari, which I usually just pick for my races. It felt better in a Ferrari. Like the front end actually did what I wanted. It turned in. It was a bit sketchy. Not gonna lie, the 2020 car. It needs a bit of a setup work for it to actually be comfortable, but if you get it, I feel at home.
Yeah, the Ferrari is a good one. I enjoy using the Ferrari, but I kind of get yelled at whenever I use it by people I drive with because I end up just trying to make the car slide because it is so pointy. You can make the car slide, and it's very, very controllable when it does slide. So, yeah, I do drive the Ferrari every now and then, but it's more just for being a yob. I'm just trying to kick the arse out. Someone who's not going to be wanting to kick the arse out is Tyrion as he tries to catch up to Ian Simcox and the number 25 Ferrari. We've got a pack of 3 Ferraris right now, but we see Tyrion deciding to go for the undercut instead and diving into the pits.
We have just few people remaining on the track that are yet to pit. We currently see Michal Tupinka, who has changed from his co-driver Patrick Peck and already being lapped by leader. It looks like Jake Moore has changed driver, Etienne, taking over that number 88 Mercedes. We are still waiting for Del Hero, Schaefer and Tarbuck to go into the pit lane and serve their final stop. It should come really close in the next 4 minutes for all of them.
Yeah, they'll have to go in by then, as well as Maddow and Robert De Vries. Those guys will have to go in. And yeah, we'll see how it goes for those guys. But yeah, they're cutting it a bit late, I wonder. And I wonder if they're just going to go for the absolute big push at the end. Maybe they'll go for new tyres. Maybe they'll stay on old ones and just fuel up and go.
I would prefer to go to new tyres for the final. Well, looking at them, they probably have changed their tyres at the first stop, and now they are doing like the longest stint for the tyres because you're not gonna. I don't think anyone could do hour and a half on the same set. In some cars, maybe it is possible, but that's cutting it really close. You are in real puncture territory there. And
yeah, I think I've managed to take it longest I've ever done in one set is about an hour and a half, and by the end, 0 tread on the tyre. It just feels horrible.
Yeah, the longest I've gone was like hour 20, and it was one stint in a Bentley.
Yeah.
If you go longer, you are really pushing the limits.
Just having a look around, seeing what tools we have on track. We've got MO plates on Olivier Curtin for P4, with plates being in for Featherhead, Lexus, and the number 917. You can see Curtin back in that yellow and black Lamborghini, hounding the back of him. We also have a Jaune on the back of Maddow, but that's irrelevant now with Maddow going into the pit for his final stop. These guys will be pushing mad, trying to catch up to Schaefer and Tilhiro, maybe trying to get them when they go for their pit stop. But I think it's going to be... I think they can do it, actually, with their current pace, with a pit stop being about 35 seconds to a minute on average, kind of within that window, depending on what you're doing. So we'll see how it goes. If they're just taking on fuel, will be about 35 seconds, but if it's tyres, that's going to be a minute.
As you see Telhero into the pit lane, and I think Schaefer should follow in as well.
Yep, there you go.
And these two already in the final corner, that's just gonna be a wave by on the start-finish straight. So this is up into P2 for Emma Plate. Great drive for this team. Now I'm just thinking about Kirten because he has to stop again. It's gonna be probably should pit in now with I'm not gonna say he's being held up too much behind Emma Plate, but he definitely seems to have the pace in a car. And you're just wasting the time behind the car, you are actually not fighting for a position. Or maybe they're just gonna go till the end and bite the penalty. That is also a possibility. Although I'm not sure what is the penalty for exceeding the driving limit, but I expect it would be something as a drive-through, or just a 30 seconds added to your time.
Oh, I'm just trying to see where the gaps are, but you can see since everyone's pitted, the lapping cars have kind of jumbled everyone around in the order. But currently, our position for the top 10 is currently Etienne in the number 88 Mercedes in P1. He's got a staggering lead of over 30 to 40 seconds so far, so that's an amazing lead over P2 man Emo Plate and the number 917 Lexus. Curtin follows very closely, and that's the battle that we're seeing on screen right now in P3. Martin Schaefer is in P4 in the Lexus, Phil Varley in P5 in the number 55 Bentley. Malho sits in P6 in the number 21 Mercedes, with the number 91 Ferrari sitting in P7 with Topinka at the wheel. Kai Banks has had a monstrous charge back through in the number 34 Mercedes, the Monster Energy one, with the number 13 Bentley of Binnersley in P9, with Ian Simcox in the number 25 Ferrari sitting in P10, rounding off the top 10 guys. So yeah, it's been fantastic so far. Unfortunately, we've had two DNFs so far, and it looks like, I'm wondering if Burley Burley's still going around on track, so fair play to him, because I know he's had quite a lot of damage from incidents, not his fault. So yeah, fair play to those guys, and a hi to Mubbles the Mubbles. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, this will be interesting fight. I'm still thinking if Kirtan is gonna go all the way to the end and just take the penalty, because Schaefer is quite far behind. It's about 23-ish seconds, and if it's a drive-through, that's gonna equal to about 30 seconds. So maybe it could work for Kirtan if he can create enough of a gap to Schaefer behind. That will be an interesting thing to go through. Because if he doesn't get a gap, then Schaefer and Varley, that might be a fight for a final podium position in the end.
It's still a shot for him. It's 25 seconds, so he can still do a drive-through. A drive-through should not take that long in an ideal world. So he still has the opportunity to do it. I'm just trying to see if I can find someone who has done a drive-through. It's about 23 seconds for a drive-through, so he still has a gap to stay ahead of Schaefer if he does have to go through a drive-through, but I'm not sure what will happen if he has to go through.
You can see him fighting off Emo Plate. Oh, that's a big lunge, and that's not gonna well for Kirtan and Plate. That's gonna be really bad for both of them. It looks like Plate has managed to somehow survive that and go by.
Yeah, that wasn't what was needed, but we've still got Phil Varley in the number 55 Bentley, with Mallow in the Mercedes. You can see the kind of purpley red one behind him, the number 21 Mercedes. They're still pushing hard, and we've still got Charger as well, number 69 car behind, being lapped by these guys, as well as Pinpoint. So we'll see how it goes.
Just thinking, looking at these two cars, are they teammates? Because the colors are way too similar with the black, red and purple.
So now you understand where I'm coming from with your team.
Yeah, I see, but those are two different cars, because the other Lexus is just a tribute to Nigel Mansell from the team. But this is literally just the same colors on two cars. Literally the same. That doesn't seem like a teammates with this fighting going on between them.
The fighting we're seeing, it's definitely not teammates going on. If it is teammates, I'm sure whoever's in charge is probably screaming them right now to cut it out. But
Bill, multi-21, we're fighting for a position.
Well, we all saw what happened with the multi-21 situation.
Yeah, Malhot showing the nose into the chicane to Phil not taking the bait, just shutting the door on the Mercedes. So again, Malhot goes for the dive into the hairpin. There is a little bit of touch between them.
There was a little bit of contact, but luckily no one got spun out or anything.
A bit more of a touch from Phil.
Yeah, it looks like almost a retaliation. Not that they would ever do that in this, but yeah, it looks quite.
Yeah,
quite intense.
that seems for like Phil not being happy with the behavior of the Mercedes driver. It's good to see Malho just barging the Phil out of the way, literally in the hairpin, and we likely took off aggression from the drivers, but I think that was beyond fair play of a racing driver.
Yeah, that's
just
beyond the rubbing his racing. Porsche getting very tail happy and going off. Luckily, not taking anyone with him. But yeah, it's up for the stewards to decide at the end of the day if anyone presses charges effectively and reports. But yeah, unfortunately, hopefully they can resolve anything that happened post race in a little message, kind of punch each other on shoulders, laugh it off, and get on with their day.
So Kirtan has somehow recovered from the accident, but he's not catching place by much. And the gap has gone to 4 seconds after they have. Well, let's say Kirtan has overestimated his braking performance into that corner.
Yeah, luckily plates didn't lose that much from that contact.
Yeah, interesting, because sometimes you can be hit quite heavily to the side, but the car just carries on. I remember just being almost taken out. Basically, someone was going like 150k, like 150 kilometers an hour, just shoved the car to my side, and somehow I wouldn't say feel, but the car just kept going forward. So yeah, it is interesting thing about the ACC, where sometimes the only one that is affected by the collision heavily and loses is actually the one who makes the mistake.
Yeah, I'm still on the hunt for close gaps right now. The closest I can find so far is between John McCain and Tyrion.
Yep.
The closest one that was there was Tyrion and John McCain. Tyrion just breezing right past John McCain. But meanwhile, the 543 Porsche behind.
Yeah, still replacing Pinpoint in the Porsche. And there is our race leader just casually passing by. Looks like Sion is just giving him the inside line for the final corner. Does not seem like in the end Etier takes the line. Now Sion maybe thinks he can get something over the car in front, maybe a little bit of advantage going into the first corner, and that's a late dive from the leader trying to lap the Ferrari. And a mistake has happened from McCain. And now that's Sion up a position. So yeah, the tactical play from Sion, letting the leader by as soon as possible, and just maybe hoping that the car in front will have more troubles letting them by. That has gained them a place in P14 it is for the Porsche.
Yeah, it's still a close battle for Jean. Unfortunately, John McCain seems to have lost that. I'm still looking at the timing screens quite heavily, so I'm missing some action on track. But Jean's done well to get past McCain, but it looks like McCain's almost struggling somewhat, given that he kind of gave the place to Tyrion earlier on.
I'm looking at the car in front, that is Phil Vardian. I don't know, he doesn't look healthy. Like the car does not seem to behave quite well after the contact with the Mercedes of Malho. And he has been losing lots of time, so as the sky just changed suddenly to blue. Weird things happen on the island. You know, we disconnect from the EU, the weather changes on its own. I mean, I feel... Is there some diffuser damage, possibly, from the contact with the Mercedes? I don't know, the car does not seem to be happy anymore. It does not have the lap time, and Topinka is closing down quite rapidly. He has just chipped half a second in the final sector.
As we still got out on track, battling it out. We still got John McCain closing up to his zone, but I'm not sure what's happening with John McCain's car. It seems to have lost a little bit of pace from what we could see earlier. We've still got Kai Banks being caught up to by Rick Binnersley, although there's still a hefty gap between them. Oh, never mind. It looks like he's catching up to Topinka. With Topinka catching up to Phil Varley. I've clearly been asleep on the job, because where has this been?
Oh yeah, Phil has lost massively in this lap. It was 3.5 seconds. And I know I didn't know AC does damage that way. I know the damage can be different, but I don't think I ever saw a diffuser damage that would hurt someone so badly. So I don't know. I don't know what is happening to Phil. I don't think ACC simulated damage at least as accurately. Or maybe it does, and I'm just being surprised at this point. You can just see how much Topinka is closing down on Varley at any point.
It really looks like Varley's struggling quite a lot. But it does mean that Kai Banks is caught up to Topinka as well, and Phil, so maybe Kai can get into P7 and maybe fight for P6 in the last 18 minutes of the race, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, will be an interesting fight. Godzilla, who started the race in the top 3, the car just spun away from him in a weird way on lap 1. Now he has to fight his way up and confirm his P6 that is in front. And definitely that will be a tough fight. He has passed Ferraris. He's passed many Ferraris. One of them, he passed them 3 times, so he probably will know how to do it again this time around.
You see, Topinka's pulled a hefty gap to Kai as Kai was trying to pass Phil. Even though Phil looks like he's quite heavily damaged, he still didn't make it easy for people passing. I mean, given that its position, he doesn't have to make it easy, but he still fought on.
I'm thinking
keep it going.
I'm thinking if Binnersley has enough of pace to catch and pass Phil, it's 70 minutes to go. It's not as much, but he's been losing lots of time. Currently 8 seconds back to Rick Binnersley.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Rick Binnersley was also the driver who's had to do 3 pit stops, from what I can remember. I think he got caught out in the lap 1 carnage that happened down at the old hairpin. So he's doing well, given that he got knocked down quite heavily from the extra pit stop. But yeah, from what I'm seeing on the timing screen, he can definitely catch up. He's catching about 3 or 4 seconds per lap to Phil Varley, and he's still got plenty of time left.
Oh, he has closed down over a second, almost 2 seconds. Just in this lap to Varley, so Phil is gonna have a really sour end to the race for sure.
Yeah, you can see that front end has been smashed to bits. The bonnet's not even fitting on properly. Not even latched. You can see the bumpers slightly sagged at the front, at the top as well. So yeah, he's having a hard time. I wonder if he's having chronic understeer, which would explain why he's kind of running a little bit wide in places. As you can see there, he just manages to keep it on the green. But yeah, it's interesting that John McCain behind him hasn't decided to pass him as a slightly faster car. But yeah, we'll see how it goes for the number 13 Bentley of Rick Binnersley as he comes up to them now.
Hasn't decided. Maybe there wasn't an opportunity yet to get by. And I think Binnersley can feel it now that the position is there. P8 for him.
You can see Farley getting bigger and bigger in his screen through the windscreen, so he's definitely catching up to him, and it's not really a matter of if he'll get past, it's more of a matter of when he'll get past.
We see Mike Bull in the pit lane, and so is Taz. Some people finishing their strategies right now. And look at the time in for Binnersley. 2 seconds this lap yet again.
Yeah, he's knocked off about 3.2 seconds on Farley's lap. If you're looking at lap times, so he's definitely catching up. Farley seems to be struggling through Sector 1 and Sector 2. We've got number 97 car off in the grass. But is that the number 91 car? No, it looks like the number 97 car has gone off into the grass over at the S's. So kind of curious what happens with them, but I kind of want to stick on board with this and see when he'll catch up to Varley and how he'll make the move.
Binnersley just closing down by car lengths at every given opportunity to Phil Varley. You see the Ferrari of McCain going down the inside and not making the move yet. Still has a little bit to go.
Yeah, it is interesting that McCain kind of stays alongside Varley and then decides to back out, but it is up to him if he wants to pass or not. But yeah, Binnersley is right up the trough of Varley now, getting ready to pounce and take the position back. Further ahead, we also have Kai Banks, who's caught up to Pinkers, so as soon as Binnersley gets a move done, we'll be definitely switching over to Pinker and Godzilla and watching that battle pan out.
Yeah, not many chances given to Phil Varley as Kierten goes into the pit lane. Meanwhile, Binnersley tries to go around the outside of Varley. Probably might be able to hang it around. It's getting a bit close, but yeah, Phil has nothing to defend. As you can see,
now that gap between Godzilla and Topinka is now a second. So it's getting close between them. That is Binnersley now in P8 as well. And we'll see that timing screen light up. But this is now Kai Banks trying to get P6. Getting all the points back he can that were lost to him in the lap 1 incident. So we'll see how it goes out for him.
Meanwhile, Kierten has gone into the pit lane and he has came out in front of Martin Schaefer. So we're just traveling through, resetting the stint timer. I would like to see or hear what is that strategy. It looks like he's doing the race solo as well this time. It's really weird seeing something like that happen, because he could have been fighting for second place. But in the end, we'll just have to settle down for P3.
I'm currently trying to multitask right now. Still got Kai Banks closing up to Pinker. It's a passing lap traffic. We've still got Etienne in the number 88 Mercedes and P1. Emo Plate still in P2 in the 917 Lexus, and Curtin in P3 with the number 58 Lamborghini. I'm pretty sure that Curtin, I thought Schaefer would be closer to Curtin from what we were discussing earlier, but fair play to Curtin, still sticking it out in P3.
In the end, he managed to get enough of a gap over Martin to make his drive through the pit lane to just reset the timer. Now Godzilla does not seem to close down on Topinka as much. He lost the 10th or something over the previous lap, so both of them are really equal when it comes to pace. We are inside the final 10 minutes of the race. And still, Godzilla just... Excuse me, my throat is getting a little bit dry. I don't know how I managed to do the whole 12 hour last week.
Yeah, fair play. That was brilliant commentary as well.
Hey, we had fun. The race was at least some entertaining, and we had a good chat. But Godzilla got the gap finally under the second, 8/10 now. He has been stronger than the Ferraris. So maybe we could expect the overtake into Melbourne. He has been strong into that corner, probably the strongest place over the entire track for him.
I have my fingers and toes crossed for Kai because he does deserve this after this amazing comeback that he's been doing. I feel like we've been hyping him up too much all race, but yeah, it's a brilliant job what he's done going from being knocked down all the way back up again.
Deserves, but you need to take what you deserve. You can't expect Motorsport to just hand it to you.
Yeah, exactly, and he's really taken it with both hands every opportunity he's been given. But yeah, Topinka now, he's doing a fabulous job as well, trying to keep up the pace, just ignore Kai Banks in the mirrors, just keep going, just keep pushing, ignore him.
Topinka now has also the slipstream from the car in front of him, being another Ferrari, so maybe there could be a little bit of, I'm not gonna say teamwork, but a little bit of camaraderie. You know, you are from the same camp, same brand. So maybe can work a little bit together.
You can see Kai getting right into the back of him with the Concertina, but yeah, it's getting close between you. You can see the gap has closed down to 6/10 between them, so Kai is getting steadily closer. But as we saw earlier when he was battling Adam Sharp in the Ferrari earlier on, it's one thing to get up right to the back of him, but it's quite another to try and get the move done and get past. So it's properly scary for that.
And not much time remaining to make the move. 7 minutes on the clock, and Banksy is still in a distance away from Topinka, so he needs to get as close as soon as possible as he touches the grass a little bit, unsettles the car. But he should get closer within this lap to at least start to put pressure down. That then at least allows you to think of a move. And the closer he does get. Still not in a position where you can overtake from, but already you are in a position where the car in front needs to start thinking about you and maybe change their lines a little bit. You see, through the chicane, Banksy is getting closer, Topinka already onto the defense, and Banksy goes for the dive around the outside. But Topinka holds the inside line, holds it around the curb, and Banksy with just an attempt, but you can see the psychological warfare starting to happen between these two. And we might have another fight that will happen soon. This guy, Banksy, goes a little bit wide. There is Schaefer and Malhoy in front. Malhoy has been closing down bit by bit. And the gap is
Malhoy's
now...
been lapping 5/10 faster than Schaefer currently. He's also had a best lap at 6/10 faster than Schaefer's as well. So Malloy definitely has the pace to catch up, but it's a matter of can he do it before the end of the race with 5 minutes left?
And also we have a Simcox and Barrowclough going on for the final top 10 position.
We'll definitely watch these guys.
Everyone decides to have a fight at the exact same time. So we have Ferrari versus Lexus, Ferrari versus Mercedes, and Lexus versus Mercedes. So we have quite a doubles fighting for each brand, but all of them in different fights with each other.
Yeah, the Ferraris seem to be getting into all kinds of scrapes throughout the racing. So, yeah, it looks like Malo. Malo's definitely catching up to Schaefer, and it looks like he has a good pace advantage over Schaefer. But I don't know, Peter. Do you think he'll get past your boy?
Well, it's either keep the position or you're fired. So sounds pretty simple to me. But yeah, Martin, he has just one job to do. It's not an easy job, but you can do it at least on a track like this. There aren't many overtaking opportunities. You just need to hit your corners, hit the apexes, get nicely out of the corner, and don't make a stupid mistake. Just keep the car in the correct position. Just look at Martin. On the inside, does not give the opportunity to the Mercedes. Gets an okay run through the corner and survives for another few seconds. Although Maho tries to go around the outside. There's no way of getting by through here, although both of them take a big chunk of a grass with them along the way. But again,
Schaefer's doing a good job
covering.
He's doing a good job covering. He's putting the car exactly where Malo wants to go, and that's brilliant defending from him. Even closer, though, is Topinka and Kai Banks, who Kai tries to go around the outside, but it looks like he goes in a little too hot and too fast, and unfortunately understeers kind of off the line, so he doesn't get past Malo. I do want to point out Etienne, who's doing a fantastic job up in P1. The number 88 car has absolutely walked away with this race, and I think it's led it from the very start.
Yeah, the Kirtan took the lead at the start of the race, but then gave it up midway through the lap. I don't know what happened there at the start, but yeah, things have happened. This fight is still going on, and Schaefer must use everything he knows to keep the car in the top 5, which would be a great result. It'll definitely boost the team up at least into the top 10 in the standings. Rafael Malho pushing as hard as he can. Trying to find the opportunity, you need to find the crack in the car in front. And when you put the driver into a bad position, it just all comes back to you. But Martin is in a position where you control the car behind. Everything you do, the car behind needs to adjust to, so that is a powerful position as well to be in.
Yeah, I definitely prefer defending than overtaking, because defending sometimes you can get the car to the driver behind to focus on you, and then you can lead them off the track. You can put the car exactly where you want. I know a lot of people like to say, oh yeah, when you're overtaking or your car behind, you're in charge of where the car in front goes, but effectively it's the same the other way around. The car in front can decide where the car behind goes and where it will try and make an attack. So it's all mind games when it comes to racing.
Yeah, it's all of it, because you need to just stay calm. That's the first part when you're defending. Me as well, I kind of prefer the defense, because you need to stay calm and you need to think in a way of the car is behind, okay, but I am the one who has the position. I need to make your life as bad as I can, and I'm gonna do it. Even though now Maho tries to go around the outside again into the hairpin, and a bit of contact between both of them, and I think Maho...
Yeah, Malo doing the right thing and waiting for Schaefer to get back on track.
Probably Malho thinking that it was his fault there, and that's a little bit of camaraderie there. Waiting for the other car, just making sure you don't get into any kind of a trouble with the stewards, you know. And it's always nicer from your point of view when you wait up for someone. Nothing lost, nothing gained. And you can carry on with the fighting as we are on a final lap right now.
Yep.
I'm not sure where our leader is.
Our leader's right behind this pack, actually. He's just coming around the Craner curbs, heading towards the old hairpin. So if Schaefer and Mallow keep it up, this could be good news for Mallow. What Schaefer wants to do, in his best interest, is to try and slow Mallow down so they get passed by the race leader so that they can be done. It doesn't give Mallow the chance to have another go at the next lap.
And it's gonna be really hard for Schaefer to actually do as Binnersley goes into the pit lane on the final lap. That's interesting. But I think that ATA is a bit too far for Schaefer to actually slow down Mallow.
Yeah, very true. Like, they are properly going for it, aren't they?
Yeah, like, you can slow down the car behind for maybe by a second, maybe on a lap. Like Lewis Hamilton managed it beautifully in 2016 when he was fighting Nico Rosberg for the World Championship. I don't think you can slow down the car by 5 seconds over the lap as Mallow now has the inside line into the final corner. He goes down the inside and yeah, nothing Martin could have done there.
Schaefer has one more lap to give it another go, though.
As we have our leader now, ATA wins the race behind this pack. Meanwhile, Schaefer tries as much as he can, but I think Mallow is just gone at this point. It would have to be a mistake from the Mercedes driver on this lap. We haven't seen much from them. A little bit of sparks coming off from the Mercedes, but just a few corners remaining. Martin will need to get a really great run through the chicane to at least mount an attack. Maybe if any corner cut warnings are remaining, this is the time to use them. You know, you get a token, you get your opportunities to maybe try something. Yeah, both of them just keep it on the track, and it will be a P4 for Malho and P5 for Schaefer in the end. Meanwhile, Emma Plate has finished off in second place, and Ollie Kirton rounding out the grid, the podium, for a P3.
Yeah, it was a fantastic drive from all those guys, especially getting it to the end. I really wasn't. I was quite surprised at how close it was towards the end. We usually see the races fizzle out at the end with everyone kind of in their own rhythm, just hot lapping, but especially Mallow and Schaefer to be fighting towards the end. We had Phil Varley and Binnersley, those two were fighting it a little bit towards the end with Barraclough and Simcox. Some quality racing there towards the end.
Yeah, it has been nice to see from everyone. Good racing, apart from the lap one, which, yeah, things have happened, but other than that, it was good and aggressive driving from the drivers. I think we can round it out for today.
Yeah, definitely. Well, anyway, yeah, thanks everyone who watched, and also well done to people who might be watching this back in the future. But yeah, fantastic to watch. Fantastic to actually see all these drivers going round and putting their best in with their body in this RST Enduro series. If you do want to join in the racing or see a bit more, find out a bit more info, join us via the Discord link in the YouTube channel description. And also make sure to check out the sponsors. This isn't kind of done without the partners of RWB with Racing Sim Tools and SimSock. But yeah, from me, I'm Josh, and Yeah. Do you have anything to add on, Racer?
Just hope to see everyone here next time.
Definitely. Thanks, everyone. Good night.